Hey everyone, welcome back to the Den Fireworks. Today's video, I'm going over some of how I prep the field, set up the cakes, make sure everything is stabilized and ready. And I'm going to be poking a whole ton of cakes, assigning my cues, and setting everything up. It is a beautiful day outside. I am outside because I am going to be putting matches into cakes. And I definitely don't want to do that in the pyro shed with all the fun stuff that is in it. So, to get ready, I have my load list printed out from my Mongoose. Usually I would have an Excel file instead with the name of all of the cakes and then what queue I was assigning them to. The Mongoose actually gives you a load list per module. So my module 1, here are all 48 cakes that are going up off of that. I have my module 2, 3, and 4. And the first 16 queues are all going to be multi-fired, so they're going to be the exact same cake going up at the different stations. And then I've got different cakes, verticals off to one side, angled cakes off to the other. So it is time to start poking, prepping, and figuring out how I'm going to secure all of these together. So out on the table, I have painter's tape, I have my packing tape, I have my MJG igniters. These are all speaker port ones, and that's what I'm going to be using on for this show. And I have my Mongoose speaker port slat, and I have shunted the slat as well, because I'm actually going to start hooking everything up to the slats as well, so I can just bring it right out to the field, and then I can just hook up the DB25 cable to my Mongoose unit and be good to go. Because this is shunted, once I hook up the speakers wires in here, then I don't have to worry about a random spark coming in on the DB25 end and setting this up and making a mess. I have also pulled up all of the 200 gram cakes that I'm getting ready to poke and fuse. Over to the right is all of the single ones, and on the left are all of my triple 3-station at once ones. I'm not sure if I'm going to start with mod 1 or mod 2 yet. I'm going to start pulling stuff out and arranging the cakes how I want to get them taped together so there's less chance of them tipping. So I pulled out my first 12 cakes that I'm going to set up. I usually work in sets of 12, mainly because, I was used to using the R12s and the R4s, so I could just have 3 of them grouped together. But this also gives you a pretty nice, stable, wide base on it. And I lay out the cakes how I'm gonna tape them together. Because I do this in my yard, I tape everything together with duct tape, I tape the bottoms, get this to be one big block that's not just gonna tip easy, and then hook everything up. And if I'm worried about it in the field, I can still drop some garden stakes on either side. I can drop 2 here, 1 here. I'll go grab a couple and show that in a little bit. But first I'm gonna get everything poked and make sure that this format will work to hold them. So I shot demos on these already, the intro videos. So I already cut up and exposed the fuse where it goes into the tube, because that is where we are going to put our match in. So I like to go in right next to the fuse and leave the fuse in there. So we're gonna take the brass awl and I'm gonna go right in where the fuse is, and I'm just gonna push in. The awl goes in and you can hear that crunch to know you are in the black powder. And that is a perfect hole for the match. We're gonna take a match out. We are going to leave it shunted, and we are going to leave the shroud all the way down on it, but we are gonna take it out so it's not all tangled up. And we're just gonna put that match right in, push it down, and then, so it doesn't go anywhere, we're gonna take some packing tape and go right over that match. And I leave the fuse out in case there's a problem with the match. I can still come back and hit this after and hand light it. And then for strain relief, we're gonna put another little piece of tape right here as well. The reason for that is once this match is run out across the field, we've got a 7-foot match here. We're gonna have a lot of this wire kicking around. And if somebody trips on this, it's gonna give that a tear first, and it's not gonna rip the match out as easily from here. So it gives us a little strain relief, a little chance for stuff to catch up. And then I'll add that back into my pile facing a way that I can tape it up. I'm gonna grab my next cake, and based on how I had these lined up and set up, I'm gonna want the match in the front on here. That way it's gonna be pointing out the way I tape it. So we'll expand our axis to that tube a little bit more. We can see the fuse goes in right here. So that is where our comp is gonna be. We're just gonna go in with it, make a hole. We hear that little crackle and grind that we hit the black powder. Pull it out. Gonna take our next match, put the match in. And there we go. Now, usually I would stick a little bit of painter's tape on here and write down what cue it was going to be attached to and where it was going. But because I've got the shunted slats, I'm just going to wire these ones right up into where they belong once I get everything taped up. So we're going to add that cake into our pile. We're just going to get grape glitz here. Same thing. We want this one going up into the front because that was a nice alignment for it. And so the reason I do these pods the way I do is I put everything that's going to be fired sooner, like fired pretty close to each other together in the pod. Because you know, a lot of these cakes are going to catch on fire. And you don't want it going up to cakes that aren't firing for another 10 minutes or something. You know, you usually get a couple minutes for it to actually catch fire and spread. So by doing pods of what's getting fired sooner to everything else really helps prevent that. And then once these are all up, if this whole thing wants to catch on fire, then it doesn't matter because all the other cakes around it are spent and we're good to go. We can just let that fire happen, run out in between while we're doing stuff, get it tamped down. We don't really have to worry about losing effects in our show. So I'm gonna get the rest of these ones. So I'm gonna poke and prep the rest of these. Maybe I'll leave it running and do a fast forward marker on it. I don't know. It's really hard to see on this camera as stuff is in frame out in the bright sunlight. So I hope when I start editing this, you know, I'll actually be in frame for everything. But I guess we are gonna find out when I take the camera in. Oh yeah, this cake, getting nutty here, is a hard formed base. I tried poking a couple times to get in here into the base and find that black powder, and I just couldn't. So on this one, I'm gonna use one of the fuse clips that I use for my mortar racks. Let me go grab one of those. I'll be right back on that. So what I plan on doing on this one is we're gonna trim this fuse down to A, make it go a lot faster, and expose some fresh black powder on it. So I've got my anvil fuse cutters. We're just gonna snip that off. And we're gonna take one of these fuse to Firewire connectors that I get at Pyroboom. You put the fuse through that, and you close up this plastic, and you take your match. It goes right into that hole, and that will stop this from springing open. And then you take your wire, tuck it into this back tab, and that gives us strain relief, and that is on nice and tight. And then we do our secondary tie down, and this one is now ready. So now we have everything matched, everything ready to go. We are gonna grab our friend, the duct tape. I go through so much of this doing shows that, I mean, I'm buying it at Sam's Club, the big 5-roll packs and a bunch of them. So first we're gonna get a big old thing of duct tape, get these arranged how we want them, and we're gonna come around and we're gonna tape this whole cake above the igniters. Now we got some of the different sizes here. That's all right. We're gonna pull them all in. Gonna knock the matches onto the ground too. So now we've got the start of our shape formed up. We're gonna tip this over, either on its side or completely upside down if they're all the same size. And we are going to run more duct tape right along the bottom of these cakes. And not duct tape our igniters so we can actually get to them later. And then sometimes I will throw one down this way as well. And now we have one big giant group that we can pick up, we can move around, and you know, as these cakes are firing, it's gonna be one at a time. This is a lot of weight to shake and tip this, that we should be in great shape. Now, I also have tons of these garden stakes. Because I am on lawn, it's not always the most even thing, so we could have them shake a little bit more. And I will sometimes put 2 on one side and then one more stake on the other side when I put them in on the field. And that will prevent anything from going side to side as well. Or you can drop in a single stake and throw in another round of duct tape on it as well. I usually do that with standalone 500 gram cakes. Poking up some, I also have some that I pre-poked that I use painter's tape, and I'll show you why I do that. Because on days that I can't prep everything up and put the matches in early, what I will do is just put painter's tape on, and when you're in the field, it's really easy to just shove that match in through the painter's tape and tape it down. So I'm gonna demonstrate that as well, but I'm gonna keep going here and I'll be right back, everyone. Because I am doing that in advance, what I like to do is I grab some thin painter's tape and I put that right over the hole and I kind of push in with my thumb to leave an indent. So you can see that indent, that is where my poked hole is. So now the day of the shoot, I'm out in the field, I can just take that match and push it right through the tape and then tape over it. The reason I like to do it like this is I'm gonna be storing this cake, I'm gonna be transporting this cake. Black powder is gonna get shaken up onto this side of the tape. If you remove the tape, black powder is going to come out with it and get stuck, and it's just going to reduce your lift charge a little bit. Doing it like this, any black powder that's stuck to the back of this tape just gets pushed right in with the match, and then you don't have to worry about it. So I'm just going to retape this one. Have my thumb push into the hole so I can see where it goes in when I'm on the field, and that one is just ready to be matched in advance. All right, so to direct match shells, which I love direct matching shells because they go up exactly when you want them to. If you have a fanned out rack and you've got 3 shells in series, all 3 of them go up at once, it is a beautiful effect. It eats up cues, so I don't do it all the time, which is one of the reasons I got those sequencers to test, but it really is a great effect. So, to prep these shells, and I'm actually going to show you with the spent match how you can poke it in as well. The first thing I do is I take each shell and I write the number on the bottom because I'm going to be taking this wrap off to get to everything, so I won't know which one is which anymore. So now we'll know which shell is which once we take this wrap off. So we take the wrap off so we can get into the fuse hole. Now there's two ways to do this. I have the way I prefer, but I know some people prefer the other way. There's nothing wrong with either. What some people do is they cut along the cup here, lift the cup up, and put the match direct in. The reason they like doing that, they're worried about the wire getting stuck in this part of the shell and kind of tugging or redirecting the shell, I think. I've never had a problem with that, and I always use strain relief on the rack. And I always get nervous taking the lift cup off. What if you dump out a little too much extra? You're putting a whole bunch of extra tape down the bottom. I just think it's easier to take this off. We're ripping this fuse out anyway because we don't need it. So you pull the fuse out, you take your brass awl, you give it a good poke in there, expand that hole. This is a spent match, it's already been used. Put that match all the way into the lift charge, throw a little bit of tape here, and then a little bit of tape here to keep this can together and keep the lead wire on it. So we're just gonna tape that up. And we're gonna throw a little tape on there, just like they do on the fuse. Now, when you put it in the rack, you want some kind of strain relief because this is plugged into a field unit out there. So you don't want this wire, if it gets stuck when the shell comes up, yanking your field unit with you. So if you get a spaced rack or you get some room in between the tubes, what a ton of people I have seen do, you take it, you put a little half hitch, and you seal it around the tube. And that's all you need, that when this comes up, if it is still attached, it will get stuck down. Or another way you can do it, you could have a screw or an eye hook here that you wrap it around the screw. But what I usually do is I will actually take the wire, run it through the rack, and then just do a little hitch knot against the rack as well. And then it can go down to the firing system, and that isn't going to have enough time or force to pull it up either. You do just want to make sure you have some kind of strain relief to keep the wire down here and keep your field units down as well. So I actually wanted to show the taping again, just hopefully with my hands out of the way more, maybe with this camera angle and the way this is set up, it'll be a little easier. So I get the fuse up so it's about in the middle. I've got all my tape pre-cut. I get the fuse so it's pretty much in the middle, and I grab a piece of tape and put it down here, and it's off center. So we get a short end and then the long end. And I run this down. I get that fuse lying right next to it, and then I fold the short end up over the fuse, and then I bring the long end around it, and then on down to the next shell, get it about where I want, put the tape in, off center, lay the fuse down, So I hope the different angle and me lifting the can up a little, you can see it a little bit better. You know, now my arm is starting to cross over the other way as well. But I did want to try and show it a little better without being a hand model. But you can just see how fast that goes.